The Wampus cat, Appalachia's shape-shifting terror, a screaming creature, walks upright through mountain darkness, driving those who hear it to madness with its voice alone. Long before European settlers carved homesteads from the ancient forests of the southern Appalachian Mountains, the Cherokee people knew the creature by name. They spoke of it in hushed tones, a being that occupied the boundary between animal and something far more terrible. The Wampus cat was not merely folklore passed down for entertainment around winter fires. It was a documented presence, woven into the spiritual understanding of a people who had lived among these mountains for thousands of years. When James Mooney arrived in the southern Appalachians in the 1880s as a representative of the Bureau of American Ethnology, he came with a mission to systematically document Cherokee mythology before it vanished under the pressure of forced assimilation. Working closely with the Eastern Band of Cherokee in North Carolina, Mooney encountered informants who treated the Wampus cat not as a relic of ancestral imagination, but as a genuine element of the world they inhabited. The creature existed in their cosmology with the same weight as the mountains themselves. The Cherokee tradition Mooney documented tells of a woman who transgressed sacred boundaries. During a ceremony forbidden to female observers, she concealed herself and watched the ritual unfold. The exact nature of what she witnessed varies across tellings, but the consequence remains consistent. For her violation of the sacred prohibition, she underwent a terrible transformation. The woman became the Wampus cat, neither fully human nor fully beast, cursed to walk the mountain darkness on 2 legs or 4, her form shifting between states. This origin story carries profound cultural weight. The Wampus cat embodies the consequences of transgressing ritual law, of crossing boundaries meant to separate the sacred from the profane. The creature represents transformation as punishment, the loss of human identity as the price of forbidden knowledge. Yet, as European settlers moved into the same mountain territories throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, they too began reporting encounters with a creature that matched the Cherokee descriptions in nearly every particular. The Anglo-American mountain folk, who carved out existence in remote valleys and high hollows, developed their own Wampus cat tradition, one that bore striking similarities to the indigenous accounts despite developing in communities with limited direct Cherokee contact. Vance Randolph, the folklorist who spent decades documenting the oral traditions of the Ozarks and southern Appalachians in the mid-20th century, recorded numerous Anglo-American Wampus cat accounts. In these versions, the creature's origin story typically vanishes. The Wampus cat becomes a straightforward supernatural predator, a thing that has always existed in the deep woods and always will. Yet even in these stripped-down accounts, the association with transgressive femininity often persists in subtle ways, suggesting either cultural transmission from Cherokee sources or independent encounters with something that carries that particular resonance. The physical descriptions of the Wampus cat remain remarkably consistent across both traditions and across the entire geographic range of the southern Appalachians. Witnesses describe a large feline creature, comparable in size to a mountain lion, but fundamentally different in its capabilities and behavior. The creature possesses the ability to walk upright on its hind legs like a human, though it can drop to all fours and move with impossible speed when pursuing prey or fleeing observation. The Wampus cat's eyes feature prominently in accounts. Witnesses describe them as reflective, glowing in darkness, with colors ranging from yellow to green to an unsettling red. The gaze itself carries weight. Those who lock eyes with the creature report immediate, overwhelming fear that transcends normal startle responses to wildlife encounters. The creature's coat is described as tawny or gray, similar to natural mountain lion coloration, but its movement betrays its supernatural nature. The Wampus cat covers ground at speeds no natural predator can match. It appears suddenly where nothing stood moments before. It vanishes into forest that should not provide adequate cover. Its passage through undergrowth produces either complete silence or cacophonous noise, as though the creature can choose whether to move like a ghost or announce its presence like a storm. But the Wampus cat's most terrifying and most consistently documented feature is its scream. Across traditions, across centuries, across the entire Appalachian range from Virginia to Kentucky, witnesses describe a vocalization that defies categorization. The sound contains elements of human screaming and animal shrieking, blended into something that triggers immediate panic in those who hear it. Descriptions of the scream appear in Cherokee accounts documented by Mooney, in Anglo-American mountain tradition preserved by Randolph, and in contemporary reports that continue to emerge from rural Tennessee and North Carolina. The consistency is striking. Witnesses struggle to articulate exactly what makes the sound so disturbing, but they universally agree on its effect. The scream produces fear beyond reason, a visceral terror that bypasses conscious thought. Some witnesses report that the scream seems to come from multiple directions simultaneously, as though the creature can project its voice or move at impossible speeds while vocalizing. Others describe the sound as penetrating, able to carry for miles through mountain valleys, reaching into homes and penetrating walls. The scream serves as both announcement and weapon, a declaration of the creature's presence that also functions as an assault on human psychological stability. The documented dangers of Wampus cat encounters extend beyond the immediate moment of confrontation. While some accounts describe physical attacks, with the creature pursuing humans through the forest or appearing near homesteads in threatening postures, the most consistent documented harm is psychological. Witnesses who hear the scream report lasting effects. Sleep disturbances plague them for weeks or months. The sound echoes in memory, producing anxiety and hypervigilance. Some accounts describe witnesses who never fully recover, who develop lasting fear of darkness and forests, who lose the ability to feel safe in landscapes they previously navigated with confidence. This psychological component distinguishes Wampus cat encounters from normal wildlife interactions. Experienced hunters and trappers, individuals who spent their lives in mountain wilderness and encountered bears, mountain lions, and other dangerous animals without lasting trauma, describe Wampus cat encounters as fundamentally different. The fear the creature produces operates on a different level, suggesting the entity possesses abilities beyond physical threat. The creature appears almost exclusively at night, though some accounts describe encounters during the transitional periods of dusk and dawn. Remote locations feature prominently in documented sightings. The Wampus cat favors deep forest, high mountain areas far from human settlement, and boundary spaces where cultivation meets wilderness. Some traditions associate the creature with specific landscape features such as rock formations, caves, and ridgelines. Seasonal patterns appear inconsistently in the documented accounts. Some traditions suggest increased Wampus cat activity during particular times of year, while others present the creature as a year-round presence. This variation may reflect regional differences in the tradition or genuine variation in the entity's behavior patterns across the extensive Appalachian range. Attempts to track or hunt the Wampus cat universally fail according to documented tradition. The creature leaves no tracks or leaves tracks that abruptly end as though the entity simply ceased to exist mid-stride. Dogs refuse to follow Wampus cat scent trails, either cowering in fear or becoming agitated to the point of uncontrollability. Hunting parties organized to pursue the creature after it terrorizes a community invariably return empty-handed, having found no trace of their quarry despite clear evidence of its recent presence. The Wampus cat cannot be removed from an area through conventional means. No tradition documents a successful elimination of the creature. Instead, encounters end when the entity chooses to leave. It appears, it terrorizes, and it departs on its own timeline. Communities that experience Wampus cat activity develop protective strategies focused on avoidance rather than confrontation. These protective measures include staying indoors after dark during periods of known Wampus cat activity, avoiding areas where the creature has been recently sighted, and maintaining silence when traveling through remote areas at night. Some traditions prescribe specific apotropaic measures, such as carrying iron objects, reciting prayers, or observing particular behavioral prohibitions, but these protections focus on preventing encounters rather than enabling confrontation. The cultural persistence of the Wampus cat tradition into the 21st century distinguishes it from many regional supernatural entities that have faded into purely historical interest. Contemporary residents of rural Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, and Kentucky continue to report encounters that match the historical pattern. These modern accounts describe the same screaming, the same impossible speed, the same upright posture, and the same psychological effects documented in traditions collected by Mooney and Randolph more than a century ago. This continuity suggests the Wampus cat exists as more than cultural memory. Whether understood as an unknown biological entity, a supernatural presence, or something that defies categorization within either framework, the creature maintains active engagement with the human communities that share its mountain territory. The Wampus cat has entered popular culture to some degree, appearing as mascots for schools and sports teams across the Appalachian region. Yet this commercialization coexists with ongoing serious tradition. The same communities that use the Wampus cat name for football teams also maintain oral traditions of genuine encounters, passed down through families, recounted with the weight of lived experience rather than entertainment. The creature represents a distinctive intersection of indigenous and European-descended American traditions. The documented cultural exchange between Cherokee and Anglo-American mountain communities produced a shared supernatural landscape where entities like the Wampus cat exist in both cosmologies, understood through different cultural lenses, but recognized as the same fundamental presence. James Mooney's documentation preserved the Cherokee understanding before the intensification of assimilation pressures that would suppress much traditional knowledge. Vance Randolph's fieldwork captured the Anglo-American mountain tradition before the social changes of the mid-20th century began eroding isolated rural communities. Together, these documented sources establish the Wampus cat as a genuine element of Southern Appalachian supernatural tradition with indigenous roots and cross-cultural persistence. The mountains themselves seem integral to the tradition. The Southern Appalachians remain among the most biodiverse temperate forests on Earth, ancient ranges that harbor species found nowhere else. These mountains contain vast areas that remain genuinely remote despite centuries of human presence. The terrain provides exactly the kind of environment where something could persist in the boundary between known and unknown, documented and unexplained. The Wampus cat endures as one of America's most distinctive regional supernatural entities, rooted in specific landscape and specific cultural traditions, yet maintaining vitality across centuries of social change. The creature's scream still echoes through mountain darkness, and those who hear it still speak of fear that transcends explanation. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.